Hello, I am Teresa Peters, your language arts mentor with Discern to Learn, and I'm here today to talk about the top 5 language arts questions that parents of homeschoolers ask me. So I would love to answer any other questions that you have about you or about your student's journey. And if you would like more information, you can always check my website at discerntolearn.com. And if you just wait around to the end, there'll be more information about what I offer and where you can find more information. But I do hope that you will join my community on Facebook, because that is where you will find more free resources and support for your journey. So let's just dive in and get started with these top 5 questions today. The first question is, what are the essential language arts skills that my students should have by the end of grade 8 or by the end of grade 12? So the first thing I want to say is that you do not need a curriculum for every single language arts area. This is big, big business curriculum. They want you to have a vocabulary. They want you to have a spelling. They want you to have a writing. They want you to have a literature. They want you to have all like a book for everything. And everything takes an hour. There are not enough hours in the day to do all of the pieces. So essentially, my first question is, where are you going? What are your personal goals for your homeschool? And make sure that your language arts aligns with your personal goals. Because language arts is a topic that we can really cater to our student, to our school, to our personal beliefs, to our goals for our classroom and our family. So that would be my first question to you, is make sure that whatever you choose, it aligns with your goals. So if your top goal is to have a persuasive student, then you are going to do language arts differently than someone whose top goal is to have them know all the grammar and Latin and roots and all of those things. So you need to just really sit down and choose what's important for you. You can't just Google or put on a Facebook group, what's the best curriculum? There's no best curriculum. There's what's best for you. So outside of that, I would say the essential language arts skills of every student by the end of grade 8 must be that they can read fluently, that they can understand what they are reading, that they are able to write effective paragraphs and the beginnings of essays. So this means they have to be able to know what they want to prove and be able to structure their writing in such a way that they can prove their point, at least to some extent. And what about grammar and all of those pieces? Yes, you absolutely want them to know how to begin sentences, how to end sentences, how to connect them together. By the end of grade 12, you want your student to be able to do whatever skills are going to be required for them for post-secondary. So if you're looking at post-secondary education, they need to gain 50 to 60,000 words of vocabulary in high school. This doesn't mean you need a vocabulary program, but it does mean that your student needs to be learning and reading harder and harder texts. Their reading level needs to improve to be able to read at a university textbook level. So if your student is just reading interesting books that they like, they're not going to be prepared for university. So we really do need to take that into consideration. By the end of grade 12, every student, whether they are planning to be in the trades, whether they are planning to go to post-secondary education and take arts, they need to be able to write a persuasive essay, a compare and contrast essay, and they need to understand how to document modern language arts works cited and in-text citations in the most current format. So those are the basic skills that I would say. Your grade 12 students also need to be able to see underneath the plot and find out what the characters are thinking and feeling, what the book's telling them, what themes and symbols are there. That's an important skill, not just for literature, but for life, so that we can think and be able to put our ideas together in a logical way and to not be led astray by other beliefs and other ideas. Students need to be able to ask questions about the things that they're reading. And that is definitely something that students need by the end of grade 12. And yes, that's absolutely a language arts skill. How do I teach essays and how can I grade them? Okay, there are lots and lots of ways to teach essays. I personally use Sharon Watson's textbooks, Jump In for middle school and Power in Your Hands for high school. They are written to the student. They are super easy to use. They are step by step to teach them. Now, know that each of those textbooks are not meant to be taught in 1 year. The middle school textbook is to be taught grades 6 to 8. The high school textbook is to be taught 9 to 12. So the one textbook will keep you for all of those years. How can you grade them? Okay, I love to talk about grading rubrics because it's so, so important. If we are just looking at an essay and we are saying, hey, this is an awesome essay, I'm going to give it an A. Your student doesn't know how to win. They don't know what they did right. They don't know how they can improve. Grading rubrics are super important because that is how your student knows what skills they need to work on, what things they need to improve, and what your expectations are of them. If we start using grading rubrics in elementary school, students start to see, oh, to improve my paragraphs, I need to have capitals and periods. I need to have complete sentences. I need to have a paragraph with an introduction sentence and a conclusion sentence and body sentences in between. I should use this many describing words. I should use this many strong verbs. Have them look for them. Have them show those to you. I do this throughout middle school and high school as well in all of my classes. The grading rubrics have students go back and underline or bold or change to a color certain pieces of their essay or their writing to show me that they have considered, that they know what it is that I'm looking for, and they know it's in there. And it also helps you with grading as well, because then you don't have to go digging. So it really helps speed up your plan as well. So that's what I would suggest. I would suggest using a grading rubric because, first of all, it's easy, it's fair, and it helps your student to learn to know what is expected of them. When students have completely subjective grading, it's a mystery. And very honestly, if I graded subjectively, some days my students would get amazing grades because I would be in an amazing mood. And some days I might be kind of grouchy and I might be kind of nitpicky. So it's really important in order for students to feel that they know what's required of them and how to win, that they have a grading rubric. I read that students need to gain 50,000 new vocabulary words in high school to be competitive in university. How can I do this? There are lots and lots of ways to do this. It's not just vocabulary that they need to increase, though. They need to increase vocabulary and reading comprehension. So their ability to read more and more difficult texts needs to improve over high school. So a lot of people try to do this by using a vocabulary program, and that's definitely one way of doing it. There are lots of great vocabulary programs out there, and they might take 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, half an hour a day. So if your student is struggling with vocabulary, if they work best with a list that they can memorize, maybe that's the way to go. But generally speaking, I encourage parents to have their students read difficult writing, because if they read difficult writing, their reading comprehension is going to increase, and so is their vocabulary. They're just going to absorb the vocabulary. They might not be able to write a definition, but they will know what it means, and that's what's really, really important. Another way you can do this is readtheory.org. It is a free, wonderful resource that anyone can use, parents or teachers, and it gives students reading. It auto levels, auto grades, and keeps pushing them to higher and higher levels. So it's a great tool that you can find for free on the internet. So that's what I recommend for vocabulary and reading comprehension. Do essays matter if my student is going to go into a trade? I guess the bigger question here is, why do essays matter? Because I've already said that I believe that every student needs to be able to write an essay. But here's what I'm going to ask. What skills do students learn by writing essays? Because you might think that in the real world, essay writing doesn't matter. People don't write essays in the real world, but I beg to differ. All of the time, we are writing documents, and in our documents, we have something we're trying to prove, and we have reasons for believing the way we do. So we might be writing a memo to an office. We might be emailing our boss about a concern we have about something. We might be discussing with our employer about, things that we see happening that we think needs to change in the way that they're doing things, or the way the office or the workplace is working. We might be a team leader, and if we are, we have to get other people onto our team to work on our vision and our dream. And all of these are persuasive speech and writing, and that is all an essay is. Essays are different ways, different patterns that we use for persuasive writing and speech. So it doesn't matter if your student is going into a trade, they are still going to have to negotiate their wage. They're still going to have to work in an environment where they're going to have an opinion and be able to prove it. And in the real life outside of work, we all meet people who believe differently than us and who have different ideas. And it's important for us to be able to say what we believe, why we believe it, and give proof for that. So it's really an important skill in life to be able to be a persuasive writer, speaker, and leader. What books should my student read, and how do I pick them? Is it enough for them just to read something? So I've touched on this a little bit earlier. And my first question to you is, if you were just going to pick a book to read for yourself, would you pick something difficult to read or something relaxing to read? Naturally, we want to pick something engaging and fun and relaxing. If we're just picking a book because we want to read something, we're not going to choose a book that pushes our boundaries, that makes our brain really work, that really teaches us to read at a higher level. And if your student, unless they're very exceptional, if your student is just choosing books to read based on what interests them, they're going to choose to read books below their reading level that are enjoyable and engaging. And I don't blame them. When I go on holidays, that's what I pick too. So the thing is, our education is not just about enjoyable. Our education is about pushing our brain to develop and to grow. And the only way that happens is when we push it to do hard things, not easy things. So it's not enough for them just to pick whatever they want to read and be reading. So it is a fallacy when you hear people say, just get your student reading. It doesn't matter what they read. Well, maybe when they're 6 and 7 years old, it doesn't matter what they read, because anything they read is going to push their reading level. But once they are able to read well, it is important that we choose books for our students and that will challenge them and push them. And how do you pick them? This is something that frustrates me on a personal level, because I have asked parents again and again, how do you choose books for your student to read? And they say, oh, I just use this list I found online. I just use this list I found online. Do you trust the person who made that list to choose what your student is going to read and put into their head and mind and heart? Don't you want to know what's in that book? Don't you want to be able to discuss with your student what's in that book? When we read, we need to be reading critically. And when our students read, we need to teach them to read critically. This world has changed because of the books that have been published. The fact that people just read them and took on their values. And we don't want our students' values to change based on the things that they're reading. Classics are wonderful, and most of them are filled with terrible ethics and morals and are not filled with God's way. That doesn't mean we shouldn't read them. It means we should read them with eyes wide open so that we can compare to our own beliefs. So I want to encourage you, when you choose a book, make it a book that is going to challenge your beliefs, a book that is going to help your students to look at it critically and practice those skills. We can't just leave those skills and shelter our students forever until they're adults and they pick their own books and then they're on their own, because they won't have the skills that they need to think critically, to read carefully, to read questioning the themes and the messages that the book is giving. So I would say it's important when we choose books to choose books with a purpose. Choose books that we're going to read and share with our students, and choose books that we can discuss together, that we can talk about their worldview, what they believe, what messages the book has, and to discuss Which parts of this are good and valuable that I should onboard into my life? And which parts of these are not good and not valuable and should be rejected? So this involves parents. If you are struggling with this and you need more help, this is something my classes do all of the time. This is one of the cornerstone pillars of each one of my middle school and high school classes and my grade 5 to 6 class. So it's an important thing for students to be able to think critically in order to protect their worldview. So I want to encourage you, don't just choose an amazing list off the internet that everyone recommends to you. Read the book first, make sure you know what's in it, and make sure you're able to discuss it with your student. So I promised you that at the end of this video, there would be a little bit more about what I offer. And there are 3 separate things that I offer, and you'll find all of this on my website. So the first thing that I offer is 1 to 3 term programs of virtual classes that have constant support. So all of my virtual classes, including my Level Up Writing classes, have weekly classes in a group setting so that we have positive peer pressure and students are encouraging each other and driving each other, spurring each other on to achieve higher things. But they also have one-to-one support and they have weekly homework. So those are the pieces that you're going to have. I teach a grade 5 to 6 report writing and introduction to literature. I teach grade 6 to 8 literature and writing, and a grade 9 to 12 literature and writing. And you will also see that I have Level Up Writing for struggling students. And this is a single term tutoring class. And you can choose between Level Up paragraphs and Level Up essays. And all of these terms work on the same schedule. So you can mix and match. You can jump from a tutoring class to a virtual class, and you can put it all together. I also forgot, there's one more virtual class that I offer that's not the same as the rest. It's on exactly the same schedule, but it is a single term fiction class. So you can also jump in, have 1 term of fiction, 1 term of tutoring, 1 term of regular language arts. So you can do it all. You can build your own program. The last thing I offer are virtual homework companions. So these are a lower priced option. And what they are is access to my homework platform where you can assign the work to your student using the platform, and you will take the homework, grade it yourself, do all the support yourself, but you will have the basic outline of what I do in my classes. So that's another option that you have on my website. So you can take a look there, and it is discerntolearn.com. So this is how you spell discerntolearn.com. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I would love to hear your feedback. I'd love to answer your questions. My #1 goal is to help support homeschool families. So if you have any questions, please do reach out. I want to help you and support you in your journey. Have a wonderful day, and may you go forward feeling supported and encouraged today in your homeschool.